Hips are one of the most common complaints that I hear about in a yoga class, and it makes sense. They're the base of our body. Sitting is not kind to our hips. So here's a 30-minute yin class that's just gonna leave us feeling amazing in our lower body. We will get started in an easy, comfortable seat. If you have a blanket towel, I would highly recommend it. It's gonna be a total game changer in these poses, including this first seat that we're taking. I love to bring it under my hips, lift my hips up a little higher than my knees. This is going to make it easier to sit with your legs, and it's going to take pressure, the natural sort of arcing out of your lower back. If you say, Nicole, this still does not work for my knees, legs out. Doesn't matter. What really matters is that you're anchored in your sit bones, you've got the nice solid foundation. Once we feel settled in the base of our body, we can focus on inhaling, lifting our spine up tall, and exhaling, settling into ourselves. So again, as you inhale, it's gonna help having blanket towel underneath, but if you feel you start to press into your lower back and your chest start to puff out, engage your core, especially as you exhale. And you might even physically run a hand over your back to notice the arcings out. So now we're in our easy seat with strong foundation so we can relax our shoulders, our jaw, our eyes. And for these first few moments, we just want to be scanning our body, coming back to shoulders, to jaw, to brow, and continuing to release and soften and look for subconscious holds and tension. Sort of scanning your body with your mind's eye is a really great way to connect with yourself physically, but it also pulls you into the present. It's hard to be focused on other thoughts or allowing your brain to get busy if you keep coming back and dropping your shoulders or engaging your core. Then we might bring focus to the breath's placement in the body. And again, feeling like you're sitting up taller with every inhale, and using the exhales to soften your muscles. You might focus on really expanding the belly with every breath and contracting the core as you exhale. And our brains are just like our muscles. They need training. So every time your mind wanders off and you bring it back to the body, and you bring it back to the breath, you are training your brain to be a little bit calmer. It takes work, but that's why this first seated pose at the beginning of a yoga practice is so important. It puts you in that mindset to keep coming back to present and to keep listening to your body. All right. So we're gonna get started with the first posture. Right leg's gonna come out. Our left knee is bent, pretty much already here. This is our half straddle. As you see, I'm still on my blanket towel because that's gonna give me amazing hinge forward, which is what we're gonna do now. So when we're inhale to lift up the spine, exhale, you hinge right from your waist. Now we haven't warmed up. This is a yin class. So when you hinge, it might be only an inch or two. You might feel very little movement at all, and that's right what we want. We want to start to feel the beginning of a stretch in our abductors, in the inner hip. And you might lower to the point of challenge just to know where it's at, but you want to back off. We want to hold at a place, again, where we're just hinting at opening, where we feel very safe, where we can relax into this. We find that sweet spot so we can find stillness. But that's my caveat. I don't get so hung up on stillness. I'd much rather you're adjusting and accommodating and honoring your body than being still. So once we find the proper depth, once we settle in as much as possible, the goal is to hold. We love 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute holds. We might not go quite that long in this class, but we do want to give our bodies time to settle into the pose, to restore. Here, just a couple more breaths. Really think about inhaling and lengthening out your spine and exhaling, hinging. Now we just said stillness, and I'm telling you to breathe deeper into the pose. But the breath work can be done in a stationary pose. You're still inhaling, creating length. And even if you're not hinging further on the exhale, I'd like to say you're letting the pose breathe. You're getting your body comfortable with the idea of release. So let's inhale, come on up. Take our left hand to the outside of our left leg. Inhale, right hand up and reach. And you're gonna feel this amazing stretch right here on the outside of your hip. And we wanna turn and look up at our ceiling because we don't wanna be rounded into the pose. We want to be opening up the muscles that we rely on for stability in our back. If they get too tight, they're going to pull on our low back. Keep drawing your shoulder back. You can get a little bonus chest opening here, as well as putting the focus in the right spot of the body. And then we'll inhale, float up. We're going to bend into our knee, plant both of our feet. We love windshield wipering in a yin class. It is the most common transition you will see. It sort of recalibrates us for the next pose. So we're coming into our half straddle, left leg out, right knee bent. We're sitting up nice and tall, good lift, but a gently engaged core, so there's no arcing in our back, and we're hinging forward. So on that first hinge, you might find right where you're starting to feel the stretch. And if you don't know if you're in the right place, very mindfully hinge a little deeper to the point of challenge, right? That's how you know you've gone too far. And then you back off. If we're using a 10-point scale, your edge might be at, a 7 or an 8. You're not in pain, but you are pushing yourself. In yin, we want to be more at a 4 or a 5. We want to be somewhere where we can hold, where we can let the pose do all the work, where we can focus on getting comfortable and letting go. Because stretching is a 2-part thing. Yeah, we're getting into our muscles, but we're also training our nervous system to relax. to understand that just because we are doing something with challenge, we are not in danger. The body naturally wants to resist and protect. So we sort of have to override our nervous systems. And that's again why we focus so much on connecting with the body at the beginning of class. So we know where it's safe to challenge and when to back off. So as you inhale, you think about creating that wonderful length. And as you exhale, even if you don't physically go deeper into the pose, it's this idea of surrendering, of exhaling into the hold. And we'll ask you to be very mindful. When we're folding forward, it can be really easy to hold in the shoulders. Make sure to relax them away from ears. Maybe gently draw your shoulder blades together and back so you feel a little bit of opening in your chest. Let's inhale, float our way back up, keeping our position. Right hand's gonna come down. We'll inhale, left hand overhead, and we're just gonna reach and feel all this amazing space in our waist, on the outside of our hip. We're gonna turn and look up to our ceiling, just so we know we're not rounding our spines into the pose. Keep your right elbow soft. Be very mindful that if you put weight into the heel of your hand, it might not feel great in your wrist. You might spread out, put a little weight into your fingertips. Let's inhale, come on up. And we bend into both of our knees, being mindful that the hips could be a bit tender. So we want to plant our feet, start small, those windshield wipers that rinse out and reset our hips. All right, one of my absolute favorite poses, you're going to want to come off your blanket towel if you were on one. Legs come out long. We're gonna come into some shoelaces, amazing for the back of the hips, for the outsides. You might think of your seat almost. You're gonna bend into your right knee, and I do like to keep my calf glued to my hamstring so that way our knee is locked into place. We don't have to worry about doing anything jarring to our kneecap, and we're gonna try and set our right knee directly on top of our left. Now, not every set of knees or hips is going to allow this to happen. If you're a bit squared, that's okay, as long as you feel safe in the knee. Knee safety is number one. If you say, this is enough for me, your blanket towel might come under your bottom knee. With the right knee on top, it could be easy to hyperextend the bottom, and we don't want that to happen. But if you are looking to dial up the intensity, you could bend left underneath and stack up your knees. So that's what we consider proper form. But I've had students tell me with their knees a little off center, they say, Nicole, my knees feel safe, and I feel like I'm getting a good stretch. To which I say, as long as you feel safe and you're getting that stretch, you listen to your body. But here's our shoelace. You might really feel it on the outside of your right hip. Your blanket towel too can be very supportive. If you want to go into the deeper variation and you don't want your knees suspended in space, I just think about it as like the mortar between bricks, holding and supporting. So we're going to take a moment here, and while we do, let's find some good stable shoulder stabilization. So we'll inhale our hands up, take right elbow on left. These are our eagle arms. You could press your palms together. If that's not accessible, backs of hands. Or you could bring your palms onto your shoulders. Wherever you're at, bring your elbows in line with shoulders. If you are taking a variation with your hands over your elbows, reach them away from your face. How does that feel between your shoulder blades? And take a big inhale. We'll exhale, unwind, open up our chest, making a capital T with our arms. Then we'll drop our hands forward, and we're hinging. We gave our hips some time to release, but keep in mind, we are not looking for our challenge. We are maybe, if we were at 90 degrees, we might be lowering only 5 or 10. You notice it in your hip. If you're at challenge point already, back off. Relax shoulders away from ears, soften jaw. With every inhale, you might feel or visualize it going past your lungs into your seat, anchoring you to the mat so that you feel supported in this release, in this hinge and opening. It's a great place. We say yin is one of the hardest practices because of its stillness and oftentimes silence. So while you're releasing your body and balancing out your body, you can focus on the brain training and coming back to breath and visualizing it, on using it to deepen or accentuate your poses. You can come back to the body. Simply the connection your seat or your legs make to the mat. But anything that keeps drawing you to this moment. And training your brain to quiet some of the thoughts. Then we'll inhale, come up. We'll start with our bottom leg. If you did tuck it under, it comes out. We're making sure our calf and our hamstring are good and connected. And then we're planting and we're rinsing away the stretch nice and easy with our windshield wipers. So now we take right leg out. We put that nice big bend here on the left so that when we turn our leg out, our knee is locked into place. We don't have to worry about tweaking it. We might say, I'm going to stop here in my half shoelace and I'm going to cushion up under my knee so I don't hyperextend. Or you might say, I'm going to bend my right underneath. And again, when we love a good stacked knee, you are honoring your knees and your hips. If it feels good and it doesn't look perfect, but you feel safe, you listen to your body. You know what you need more than I do. And keep in mind, everyone's skeletons are a little bit different. So now we have it. We're starting to create that space. Let's inhale our hands up and bring left elbow over right. Palms, backs of hands, palms to shoulders. All that really matters is that your elbows are in line with your shoulders and you have this wonderful stability between your shoulder blades. An area of our body that tends to get overstretched and overtaxed. So stability is the key. We're breathing into our back. Or maybe we're focused on our seat's connection to the mat and our long spine. But using body, breath, the connection between the two to find the moment. Big inhale. Exhale, unwind, arms open up, our giant capital T, and we set them down right in front. And that might be it. You see I lean forward maybe half an inch. If that's the sweet spot for you, where it deepens the pose without bringing you to your challenge point, by all means. And soften your shoulders. Make sure you're connected into your foundation. Maybe you imagine you're breathing into your hip, or you're inhaling length into your spine. But getting comfortable in the quiet. We seek distraction because quieting the brain is hard. But it bears repeating. It is a muscle that needs training just like any others. We simply just keep coming back to breath, back to body, until it becomes quite a natural thing to do. And we'll inhale, ease our way up. We come out the way we got in, our bottom leg, and you notice as you move your bottom leg, the calf and hamstring naturally connect, so we can plant our foot with good knee safety, bend our opposite, we rinse things out with our windshield wipers. And then we head to our backs. So once you land, and taking a moment to let your spine settle in, I always like to take one more round of windshield wipers. They can feel quite different on your back than when you're seated. And we really want to honor this transition, because as long as we have our spines in seated, nothing quite compares to the length we get when we're using a floor. It's almost like a spine stretch itself. So once we're feeling good here, we'll take our feet to the edges of our mat and we'll let our knees fall together in the center. This is our constructive rest. You might notice it in the inner thigh one more time. Like we did at the beginning, you're putting space in your lower back. It's a great opportunity to put your right hand on your belly, your left over your heart, and to feel the rise and fall of your breath. So take your knees apart, bring your feet back to the center, a couple windshield wipers, just resetting so our body is never jarred by the transition from pose to pose. We will take the soles of our feet together and let our knees fall off to the sides. A reclined butterfly. This is why it never hurts to have more than one blanket towel. You could fold it, place it under your knees, offer a little support. If you only have one, you could walk your heels a little further away. That's going to take out some of the intensity. I will ask you to just notice what your lower back's doing. It might arc off the mat a little bit, or a lot of it, and that's okay. But take a moment to settle in. And if you like putting hand on belly, hand on heart, and feeling the rise and fall of your breath, by all means. You can place your palms to the side of the mat and just focus on the connection of hands to mat. It's like the definition of grounding. It's just noticing the connection your body makes to itself, to its surroundings. When you're focused on those connections, you are pulling yourself out of all the other busy thoughts and right into the moment. So stick with it. Keep finding your present through body, through breath. Remember, the more present we are, because if our thoughts are anywhere else and they're making us feel busy or tense, we are going to notice that in our poses and we're not going to relax into them. Again, it's not just about our physical selves, it's about our nervous systems too. So take your hands to the outsides of your legs, gently ease your knees back up towards the ceiling, being very mindful of the hips. A couple of our windshield wipers. Plant your feet, give your knees a hug into your chest. You can make some little circles with your knees, which is going to give you a wonderful massage in your lower back. You might come the opposite direction. We'll ball up nice and tight, and we'll release to Savasana, our final rest. So we want to let everything roll open, and we want to come back to our base. We've been working in our hips. So how do they feel? Is your seat good and connected to the mat? It's pretty natural with your legs out to have a little arc in your low back. Make sure you are feeling supported, that you're feeling balanced here in your foundation, so you can get release from hips, down legs, to tips of toes. And it does the same thing going up. The soft center elongates our spine, allows us to relax our head into the mat, our arms to fall open. So we might notice the space we made. We might be continuing to scan the body to bring the ease that we created into all areas. And then we might get lost in the rise and fall of inhales and exhales. It doesn't matter how many times your mind wanders off. The growth comes from bringing it back to present through breath, through body, through connection. And then we'll inhale very deeply. Exhale, settle into ourselves one more time. We'll inhale a little movement to fingers and toes. We'll give our ankles and our wrists a few rolls. Always like a final full body stretch, just a big reach. We roll to one side. So we can press ourselves up to seated, right where we got things started. And I will say, as always, thank you for sharing the practice with me.